If you failed a board exam, your brain is probably telling you a story right now that you're behind, that you're incompetent, and that everyone else is moving ahead without you. It's not true, and today I'm going to give you 5 evidence-based ways to retake your boards without spiraling. Hi, I'm Dr. Bianca Busch, double board certified psychiatrist. I help physicians, students who have had exam failures build up that mindset and get ready to take it and ace it. So let's get into it. All right, when you fail boards or when you fail an exam, your brain is going to register this as a loss. And what's going to happen? We're going to totally activate the sympathetic nervous system. The amygdala is going to get going. That's the fear center. We're going to release cortisol. We're going to have rumination loops. We're going to have decreased activity or shutting down of the prefrontal cortex, which helps us make decisions and plans. So that means it's going to be hard to make decisions. You might have foggy thinking. And so your brain is not just reacting to the test score. What it's reacting to is perceived loss of belonging and competence. So this is why sleep worsens. This is why you obsessively replay the exam in your mind. This is why you catastrophize. And so this is not a sign of weakness. It is neurobiology. These responses can be normal for people. There's an explanation. Well, I have been through these failures before, and I'm so excited because now I have the professional skills to help others. Let's dive into the 5 evidence-based steps to recovering from failure. 1, we have to separate performance from identity. Boards measure performance under constraint, not your worth as a physician. So we can think about failure in terms of fixed versus growth mindset. I'm sure you've heard of this before, but in fixed mindset, we think about failure as I'm not capable. This is how things will always be. I often hear people say, I'm just a bad test taker, right? That's very static. But growth mindset calls you to be more dynamic. So failure means I need a different strategy. And that shift alone can help you as you approach your retake. We know that performance isn't just ability, right? Because if it was, everyone that was super smart would automatically pass things and vice versa. We know that performance is ability times state regulation times strategy, and that can lead you to a win. So here's a quick activity that's going to help you separate performance from identity. I want you to write 2 columns down on a piece of paper. One column is to think about what the exam measures, and another column is to think about what the exam does not measure. What you're doing is you're forcing your brain to put these things in 2 different categories, and chances are you're very strong in the category that's not measured by the test. Number 2, conduct a post-game analysis, like an athlete. So we want to break into some performance science and bring in peak performance science. Elite athletes don't spend time shaming themselves after a bad game or a bad match. They aren't going to settle for, oh, I'm just going to try harder next time. No, they are going to get into the film tape, the game tape. They're going to review things. They're going to look at what happened with themselves, with their competitors. They're going to review the conditions for their performance, game or match. Was it hot that day? Was I tired? Did something happen before? They're going to think about endurance. Did I get tired in the last quarter? They'll think about timing, mental regulation. Was there something that got into my head and caused me to not perform the way that I wanted to? Were there strategic errors? So if you failed, let's employ some of this psychology. Think back to what was happening. Did you run out of stamina? Did anxiety spike during a certain block? Did you overflag? Did you change your answers impulsively? Let's make it behavioral and not emotional so we can get to a better game plan for the next time. Number 3, regulate the nervous system before you restudy. This is key. When I talk to people about preparing for the next exam, I don't start with the content. I say, okay, let's think about the things surrounding your exam and start preparing there. Scheduling, supports that you have in your life. I have a great video on supports. I'll link it below. Check that out. But what you need to do is thinking about going into the studying calm. Why is that? Because if you go into your study period worried, stressed, even the sight of that first question in the Q bank raises your anxiety. We know that cortisol impairs hippocampal encoding. What does that mean? The hippocampus is responsible for making memories. So if your cortisol is up and we're not using our hippocampus to its best ability, that means that you're not creating good memories. You're not storing that information in the best way. We also know that chronic stress reduces prefrontal efficiency. So that means you're going to have a reduced capacity for decision making and planning. So here's some ways to think about regulating your nervous system before you prepare or as you prepare for a retake. Box breathing, I have a short on this on my social platforms. Check it out. Just basically breathing before you even get into the questions, the settings. So before you sit down to review the content or even do a Q bank, throw in some diaphragmatic breathing or box breathing to activate that parasympathetic nervous system and get out of fight or flight. 20 minutes of daily cardio, that's maybe a walk, something like that, even more intense cardio. That's going to help you get out of fight or flight and relax. Thinking about getting good sleep. This may be hard normally for you to do, but hey, can you do this for this period of 3 or 4 months while you're studying? Really making a commitment to getting good sleep, because we know that memories encode and are really stored when we get good sleep. So if that's possible, it may not be possible. If you are a person who's prone to anxiety, probably if you're watching this video, try to reduce your caffeine use. If you're at 3 cups a day, try to take it to 2. If you're at 2 cups a day, try to take it to 1. We know that decreasing your caffeine consumption is going to reduce your baseline anxiety. If your nervous system is dysregulated, your studying is going to be inefficient. So remember that, and that's something that we can impact. Number 4, let's interrupt the rumination loops. So after failure, a lot of people will doom scroll, compare scores, replay questions, obsess over percentiles, and rumination is mental rehearsal. So when you replay this, you're replaying the moment that you blanked, the question that you missed, your score report, seeing that you failed, imagining a future failure. Your brain is going to kind of repeat this like practice. And this is just neurobiology. So rumination is going to strengthen neural pathways through repetition. So I'll give you a visual example of this. Say you're walking through a field of grass for the first time. Now, the first time that you do it, it's barely visible, right? The path is barely visible. And so we can think about this. If you're thinking, okay, exam report, I failed, I'm going to fail. All right, that's one time. But when you do it over and over, you've walked that path in the field to the 20th time, now you can see a distinct path. How about the 200th time? By this point, we've worn down the grass and we see a dirt trail. So what's happening in your brain is that you're making this path, this connection very easy and almost automatic, right? You're walking that same fear path over and over. That means that your brain is going to be triggered with anxiety faster. It's going to jump to worst conclusions or worst case scenario faster. It's going to link boards to threat or failure. And that's not because you're weak, but it's just because the brain wants to do things efficiently. So what can you do about that? A couple things. 1, schedule a 15-minute worry window. You see your mind going down that path, say, okay, it is 3:50. I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to worry, and then I'm going to move on to something else. Another thing you can try is to write down that worry or intrusive thought. And this is a principle of ACT, a type of CBT. Say, I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail this exam. It's just a thought. It's not something that's going to come true, but it's a thought that I'm having. Write it and let it go. And you may need to do this many times. That's okay. Replace that worry, replace that rumination with intention. So when you start to replay the exam, stand up, move your body, and maybe review 10 flashcards. That's really constructive. Or maybe even do 1 question in your Q bank. All of these things are going to build cognitive control. Number 5. Rebuild your identity before you rebuild your knowledge, before you go back into the exam. And this is huge because failures can shake you professionally. They can shake your professional identity. As high achievers, we often tie our self-worth to our academic success. So if I get an A, I'm good. And this can go back to elementary school. We have performance-based belonging. And so when we fail, imposter syndrome can be amplified. So what I want you to do is I want you to write a physician identity inventory. Think of 10 reasons that you're a competent physician that are unrelated to test scores. Maybe even reach out to a trusted colleague, say, hey, I'm regrouping after this failure. Can you give me some things that you see in me that tell you that I am a competent or a good physician? All right. So those are 5 things. Don't want to keep this video short, but the difference between people who spiral and people who go back in and pass on that retake, it's not talent, it's not knowledge, but it's how you metabolize the failure. So if you failed boards, this is not the end of the story. I'm here to support you. It's just a data point. So we're going to take that, we're going to analyze it, we're going to create a plan, and we're going to move on and we're going to pass. That's it. I'm encouraging you. I'm cheering you on as always, and I'll see you in the next video.